Hi guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 14, Long E Vowel Teams. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your orange book, open to page 89. You will also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on the board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. All right, so we have been talking about long vowels over the last couple weeks. We know there are 5 long vowel sounds, A, E, I, O, and U. And we know that there are several ways to make a vowel long. We can use a silent E, we can use a vowel team, or we can use an open syllable. This week we are focusing on vowel teams. And if you take a quick look at our list, you'll notice that all of our words this week contain a long E. So you're going to hear that E sound. But I also want you to notice that these are all one-syllable words. So they are one-syllable words with a vowel team in the middle and a silent E at the end. So we're going to spend a little time trying to figure out the job of that silent E. But before we do, let's read our list. Please repeat after me. Breathe, breeze, cheese, crease, freeze, grease, lease, leave, peace, please, sleeve, sneeze, squeeze, weave, and wheeze. Okay, so normally at this part of the lesson, we break our words into syllables. But as I said, all of our words this week are one-syllable words. So let's skip that part and let's choose a color. And I want you to look at that first word and I want you to notice the vowel team E-A, okay? This should be a pattern you're already familiar with. You've seen it in words like eat and read and sea, like the ocean type of sea. So you know that most of the time when we put E and A together, they're going to make an E sound. We see it again in crease and grease, lease and leave, peace and please and weave. So over here in our key, blue box equals E-A vowel team. Okay? Choose another color, and this time I want you to find the E-E in breeze. Now this is another vowel team that you're familiar with. You've seen it in words like feel and feed and see, right? The kind of seeing you do with your eyes. So we see it again in cheese, freeze, sleeve, sneeze, squeeze, and wheeze. Over here, red box equals E-E vowel team. Now I want you to look at the position of that vowel team. That's something we think about, right? Because we know that certain vowel teams like A-Y only show up at the end of a word or syllable. Other vowel teams like A-I only show up in the middle of a syllable. Well, this week, you can see that that E-E and the E-A both show up frequently in the middle of a word. But they can also show up at the beginning. We could look at the word eat, or we could look at the word eel. Both of those have a vowel team at the beginning. We could also look at the word sea, like the ocean, and see, as in what you do with your eyes. And in both of those cases, the EA and the EE show up at the end. So this is a vowel team that can show up anywhere. And to make it more confusing, this vowel team shows up a lot in homophones, right? Feet and feet, meat and meat, week and week. So there's a lot of memorizing on your part because you have to think about, do I want the kind of week that's spelled with 2 E's, or do I want the kind of week that's spelled with EA? Okay? That just comes with practice. The more you read, the more you write, the more you recognize which pattern fits in a certain situation. All right, so here's my question though. If we already have a vowel team in each word making it long, then why do we need the silent E at the end? It seems kind of redundant, right? Like it's extra, it doesn't have a job to do. Well, here's where we remind ourselves that silent E has several jobs. Making a vowel long is just one of them. We also know that a silent E can soften a C or a G. So in this word, the silent E is making that C soft. So it says peace. If we left the E off, it would say peak. So over here, green box equals silent E softens C. Okay, I think that's the only example. Now, you probably also noticed that some of our words end with a V sound. We see that in the word leave and sleeve and weave. We have lots of words in our language that end with the V sound, but we don't have any words in our language that end with the letter V. It is never the last letter in a word. So we need an E to babysit the V. That's why we spell the word have like this, and the word give like this, because that E is just babysitting the V, because for whatever reason in our language we never end a word with a V. Now, we do end some words with a Z, but it's always a double Z. If you think of words like fuzz or jazz, they have a double Z at the end. Most of the time, if we want to end a word with a Z sound, we're going to need an E. So just like the E babysits the V, now it's going to babysit the Z in breeze and freeze and sneeze, squeeze, and wheeze. So over here, darker green, we're going to say silent E babysits V or Z. And I'm going to say it babysits because all it's doing is sitting there. It's not changing. It's not making it hard or soft or long or short. It's just sitting there keeping the V or the Z company so they're not the last letter in the word. Okay, now you'll notice all the words that are left here end with an S sound. And actually that S can be tricky because sometimes it sounds like S and sometimes it sounds like Z. Now, we know that in our language, most of the time, if a word ends with the letter S, it's going to be a plural. So I think somewhere along the line, someone decided that they should put an E after the S just to make sure people know this isn't a plural. Okay, so they did that with cheese and crease, grease and lease and please. Okay, anytime we have a word that ends with an S, we're going to put an E on the end just to be safe, just to prevent plural confusion. So silent E prevents plural confusion. So that this way people know that when we talk about cheese, we're talking about one thing, not a whole bunch of cheeses or a whole bunch of leases. We're talking about one. Okay, there's one more word here. Look at the word breathe. If there was no E there, that word would say breath. Notice the TH makes a th sound. Our voice is turned off, right? There's no sound. If I put the silent E there, not only does that remind me that the EA is supposed to be long, but it also makes me turn on my voice. So I say breathe, breathe instead of breath. Okay? You see that in words, for instance, if you take the word teeth, like I brush my teeth, you can change it to teeth, like the baby is starting to teeth, by putting an E on the end. It voices the TH. You can also see that with the word bath. You can change it to bathe. That silent E makes it turns on your voice for the TH. So let's choose another color. And we'll say that in this situation, silent E turns on the TH. It makes us turn on our voice. So instead of saying the TH says v. All right. So as you can see, lots of jobs for that TH. Okay, what I'd like you to do next is I'd like you to help me mark the verbs on our list. Remember, verbs are action words. If it's something you can do or a dog can do, the weather can do, or a car can do, it is a verb. So, we can breathe, right? We can't really breeze, and we can't cheese. We can't crease. We can freeze, and water can freeze. You can grease something, like if you're going to bake, if you're going to make like banana bread, you're going to want to grease the pan before you pour in the batter. You can lease something, which means you rent it for a while. So you can lease a car or you can lease an apartment. You can certainly leave a room or leave your house. You can't piece. You can please people though, right? If you do something nice, you use kind words, that pleases people. You can't sleeve. You can sneeze and you can squeeze. You can weave things together like yarn. And you can wheeze, right? If you have asthma or you have bronchitis or you've been running a long time and your chest gets tight and makes that squeaking sound when you breathe, that's called wheezing. So over here, brown marker equals verb. Okay, now when you get to page 92 in your book this week, we're not talking about a new prefix or suffix. Instead, what we're doing is we're practicing taking our words and keeping them as verbs, but adding different suffixes. So for instance, we can take the word squeeze and we can change it to squeezing and squeezed. Remember the rule. If a word ends with silent E, we drop the silent E and then add ing. If I want to change it to squeezed, I drop the silent E and then I add ed. But if I want to change it to squeezes, I don't drop the E. And the reason I don't is because S is a consonant. We only drop the E if our suffix starts with a vowel, like I or E. You'll notice more of this as you get a little bit older and you start adding other suffixes like meant and less and full and us. You will notice that anytime your suffix starts with a vowel, you have to drop the silent E, but anytime it starts with a consonant, you just leave it as it is. Okay, so like I said, more practice with that on page 92. The last thing I want to do is just quickly go through our vocabulary, make sure we know what all of our words mean. Okay? So our first word is breathe. Inhale, exhale. That's a verb. A breeze, I'm going to put an N here because a breeze is a noun. It's a small wind, right? So sometimes if you go to the beach, it can be really, really hot, but then this cool breeze comes and it feels so good, right? You know what cheese is? A lot of people like to eat cheese on their hamburgers or on their sandwich. A crease is a noun. That's another word for a wrinkle. So men's dress pants or a woman's skirt might have creases in them, and you use the iron to make sure those creases, those folds or wrinkles are nice and straight. So I'm going to say a wrinkle or a fold. If something freezes, it turns to ice, right? Changes from a liquid to a solid. Grease can be butter, it can be vegetable oil, anything that keeps things from sticking. Also, if you cook stuff in a pan, let's say you fry up some bacon, you're going to have lots of grease left over because all that bacon fat will turn real slippery. Lease means to rent. So it's a verb because you can lease a car, but it is also a noun because you have to sign a lease. So the lease is the piece of paper, the agreement. Leave, you know, that means to go away. Piece, notice it's a homophone, right? There's this kind of piece, which is a slice. I always think of the word pie hiding in there. I'd like a piece of pie. But this kind of piece is a noun, and it's the opposite of war, okay? So when we have peace, that's not war, okay? It means everyone's getting along and nobody's fighting. Please is a verb, right? You please someone. It can also be an exclamation, like if you yell, please, 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 please. Sleeve is a noun, right? It's part of your shirt. Your shirt has 2 sleeves. Sneeze, achoo, right? It's something we do. So it's a verb, but it can also be a noun. If we say, wow, that was a loud sneeze, we're talking about a thing. Squeeze is a verb, right? So when you hug someone tight, you give them a squeeze. If you're trying to get toothpaste out of the tube, you have to squeeze it out. If you're in a room with a lot of people, you might have to squeeze between them to get to the door. Weave is something that, some people weave their hair, or they put a weave in their hair, but also anytime you're taking, like you're making cloth, you're weaving pieces of fabric or pieces of yarn over and under each other. That's called weaving. And then I talked about wheeze, right? When you have trouble breathing and your lungs are squeaking, that's called wheezing. All right, so that's all I have for you today. You guys are ready to start. Good luck, and I will see you next time.